This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Add-ons community meeting for September 21st, 2020. It's been a while, so I'm really excited to see a lot of folks back. I'm joined today by Sylvain, Jorge, and Andy. So thanks all for taking the time this morning to come and talk. And I'd like to kick our meeting off by acknowledging Atiq Ziad as our friend of Add-ons for this particular week. Atiq recently completed his Google Summer of Code project, which was to build an extension activity monitor. So it's a pretty cool, privileged extension that will take a look at extensions that are currently running in your browser and analyze what APIs they're calling. And so it kind of gives you a little opportunity to peek under the hood and see what's going on with how extensions are kind of like impacting your browser, or like what sorts of things they're doing under the hood of your browser. And we're hoping that this is going to be kind of a first step in helping users and also Firefox developers kind of like analyze what's going wrong if something happens and folks aren't sure if it's a Firefox issue or an extension issue. The idea is that some of the information provided by the activity monitor would be able to kind of help inform folks to go dig around and take a closer look at what's going on. So this was part of the project was really just to like build a prototype that we could kind of like iterate on and then hopefully, release. Atiq's prototype looks really good. I'm going to see if I can find like a GitHub repository or something, if he'd be willing to share any of that. But he did a pretty great demo at our last show and tell from Thursday. The recording is available if you want to take a look at it. So really proud of Atiq, and it's a great thing. So thanks, Atiq. So I just wanted to say it's been a while. Our last meeting was a month ago. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say hi, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there. We've had a couple of things come out since our last meeting. So I wanted to take a couple minutes before getting into the add-ons related stuff to just talk about general Mozilla administrivia. So the first thing on the list is that Mozillians.org is being decommissioned. Mozillians.org has been our directory and access management point for the greater Mozilla community to get access to some internal Mozilla documentation and videos. I primarily use Mozillians.org to look up who people are when they come in to contribute code to projects. So sometimes it's helpful to figure out if somebody is a staff member, if somebody is a longtime contributor, if somebody is brand new to our community. It kind of gives you like a little sense of who folks are in the universe and helps you get to know them. That was my primary use for Mozillians.org. But critically on the back end, it was the big functionality of Mozillians.org is that it's an identity access management portal as well. So through Mozillians.org, you could do things like send NDAs to contributors to get them access to confidential meeting invites and confidential recordings. You could assign people to different groups that had different access levels to different features and services across the organization. And Mozillians.org was a really old site. So the Mozilla identity management team launched a new site, I think about last year, called people.mozilla.org. So the idea was that it was basically going to replace both the Mozilla internal staff listing and kind of like the greater Mozilla community listings into one place, and then also move access management to that place. So that is a really long-winded way of saying that basically while Mozillians.org is being decommissioned, a lot of the really key features have been migrated over to people.mozilla.org. And if you're an involved contributor with Mozilla and you haven't done so already, I would encourage you to create a new profile on people.mozilla.org. You can go ahead and like tag yourself as an add-ons person or web extensions person and just kind of like give a little brief bio about who you are, link to any of your related identities like your GitHub identity so we can identify you when you contribute to repositories on GitHub. etc. And then that's the new portal that we're going to be managing your like NDA permissions from now. So all of your NDA, if you have already been NDA'd, that should have carried over to the new people.mozilla.org experience. So you should see that listed in your access group. If you were previously NDA'd and you're seeing that you're not an NDA on people.mozilla.org, please reach out to me and let me know. I'll help you get set up. And otherwise the experience, otherwise you can just quietly let that happen in the background. That is kind of the main thing. The other thing, one thing that I just want to flag is that for a long time on Mozillians.org, there was a feature called vouching where you could kind of point at somebody or acknowledge somebody's profile and say, hey, I know this person, they're a great contributor, they're very involved, and just it kind of gives your like recommendation of that person as kind of like a hey, fellow friends, like welcome this person. That feature is not being migrated over to people.mozilla.org, mostly because the team kind of wants to redesign the whole idea behind vouching, as it was flagged that some people were using the vouching feature to gatekeep new contributors away from further participation in the project. So that's the reason why that isn't there. So unfortunately, we can't write nice things on people's profiles anymore. But if you would like a nice thing written about you, I'm happy to still provide that on some other forum. Okay, sorry, that was a lot of information. That was Mozillians.org. Any questions about? Okay, awesome. Okay, the second thing is another kind of gross technical internal thing, and that is that for a really long time, Mozilla's listservs have been powered by a product called Mailman. Mailman has, it's really old, and there's not a lot of staff members anymore who kind of like can maintain it or keep it patched or troubleshoot it when things go wrong. So the powers that be have decided that we are going to let them, we're going to retire Mailman by the end of 2020. The plan right now is to migrate everything over to Discourse. So Discourse is our community forum, which can be used as either a site that you visit and you participate in, but because it also has some features that will like mail everybody who subscribed to a certain topic or a certain thread, it can be used as a mailing list. So of the lists that would impact people in the add-ons community, the only one that is going to need to migrate is the dev add-ons mailing list. I got the notification about the end of life for Mailman at the end of last week, so I have not yet fully thought through the transition plan or process right now, but we will inform all members of dev add-ons at some time in the next couple of weeks what the plan is and make sure that we get everybody set up on whatever replacement thread or replacement category we have on Discourse, so that we can continue to have those conversations. All right, any questions about Mailman? Okay, cool. The last thing, our developer relations team used to run the Mozilla Hacks blog prior to the reorganization that happened in early August. While we were still kind of reconfiguring ourselves after the reorg, there was an announcement that the Hacks blog was going to be paused. I'm happy to say that they were serious about that. It was pausing it to kind of like get resettled, and Hacks will continue publishing content. So we have a couple of posts that are more appropriate for like a general web development audience that would be on Hacks. So we'll definitely continue to use Hacks as one of our places that we publish information that maybe isn't necessarily specific to the add-ons community and ecosystem. So if you have an RSS feed set up for Hacks, you'll probably see more content coming through just on a more sporadic basis. But I'm happy that Hacks is surviving. All right, any questions or any other administrivia things that we should cover? Okay, excellent, excellent. All right, so now we're going to recap some of the fun stuff that we've been working on for the last month, starting with the Promoted Add-ons pilot program. So we announced the Promoted Add-ons pilot program about a week and a half ago. What this program is intending to address is kind of this problem space between add-on developers who want to promote their extensions and Mozilla's, and kind of our limitations in the number of manual reviews that we can provide. So with the Promoted Add-ons program, developers can pay a fee to join this program where their extensions are reviewed. And once they pass review, they get a new verified badge on their addons.mozilla.org listing and also in the Firefox add-ons manager. And when they get the badge, the security warning that shows up on general extensions will be removed on AMO. And so basically what will happen is it'll be pretty similar to the recommended extensions thing where, or the process where you submit an update, it gets gated on review, and then once it passes review, that new release goes out to your general audience. It's just that for participants in this group, they will be paying a fee for that, unlike the recommended extensions, because we choose recommended extensions based on editorial criteria. So we provide that experience for free. So we're hoping that this is going to help us expand the number of extensions that we can certify as being compliant with our add-ons. And the people who will be reviewing this are our team of paid admin reviewers. So we really appreciate all of the contributions of our awesome add-on volunteer reviewers like Sylvain, but because we can't mandate specific times, like turnaround times for reviewing add-ons in the program or the number of add-ons that you review per week for our volunteer group. That's why we're exempting the volunteer reviewers from reviewing add-ons in this particular queue. Yeah. So we have started accepting, the day that we launched this, we started accepting signups for this. Our pilot is going to be pretty small. We want to kind of keep an eye on it, and this is a new area for us, so we wanted to keep the numbers like manageable. But however, we're encouraging folks to go ahead and sign up for the wait list. If the pilot is successful, it'll graduate in December, and at that time, once it graduates, we should be able to start accepting other folks into the program. But we have started reaching out to developers who signed up initially to let them know if we want to move forward with them in the pilot program. So those folks are going to be going into review in the next couple of weeks. Once they pass review, we'll be able to turn on that verified badge for them. We've got a new Sumo article up that I will copy and paste in here that kind of explains all of the different badges that folks are going to start seeing on AMO and in the add-ons manager. And so folks should start seeing those badges go live on pretty soon, like within the next couple of weeks, possibly sooner, depending on how review goes with the pilot participants. Yeah, so are there any questions about the pilot program?
Sure, I've got two questions. The first one, I think you wrote somewhere that the pilot would be for around 12 add-ons. Is this number still right?
Yes, that is still right. Yeah, so we're still looking at 12 participants in the pilot.
All right. And about the fee, is it a fee specifically per add-on or per updates?
That is such a great question. So I'm going to let Jorge answer that because I don't want to say anything wrong.
So we're not going to charge anything for the pilot. That's going to run for a couple of months. And how we price things is going to depend on feedback on the pilot. But what we are thinking about now is to charge per add-on. But we would definitely, like we have been looking into for example, recommended extensions and how often they update and basing our decisions on that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jorge. Yeah, so we saw a lot of developers who just asked for more pricing information when they signed up in the comments. And yeah, we're using the full length of the pilot to kind of explore what pricing is going to look like. And there's a lot to keep in mind around that. So we want to make sure that we get that right. I think that was all that I had for the promoted add-ons pilot program. But as always, if there's other questions, please feel free to reach out and ask. Okay, our second update is around Phoenix. So the new Phoenix, which is the Firefox for Android experience that has been completely rebuilt and reimagined. So that has now rolled out to everyone as of the end of last month. We are still targeting the end of this month to enable a setting in Nightly that will allow users to load arbitrary extensions persistently. So the current state right now is that you can load an arbitrary extension in Phoenix Nightly. It just won't stay loaded. So it'll load as a temporary add-on. I saw some folks on the forum asking if there were any technical blockers and anything that they could do to help out. The answer is thank you so much for the offer. There are no technical blocks at this point. Right, the biggest blocker to getting this setting out has been PTO. Like, people need to take some time off and recharge, especially after like a pretty grueling Phoenix development cycle. So we are still planning on having that setting enabled by the end of the month. That's still the plan. So that having been said, I think there's still, if folks are really interested in contributing to kind of like add-on support in Phoenix, there's probably a couple of other places that we could use help right now. I don't have any specifics at the moment, but we've just published updated instructions for how to test Firefox extensions in Phoenix. And we noted a couple of things where the experience was kind of lagging, a couple of things around WebEx and around the linter. So I'm not sure if those right now are appropriate for folks to contribute to, but they are kind of like noted as gaps in the experience that we would kind of like to have fixed sometime at some point in the future. So I'm going to circle back with the team and see if there's anything appropriate, there's any area for folks to help out with there. And then the other thing is that if we do move forward with general support on release, there's probably going to be a lot of opportunities for folks to contribute to that experience. But we won't have any updates about that for a little while yet. So we'll focus on kind of like our short-term goals and how people can plug in and kind of make that better. And then we can kind of look to the future when we have a little bit more information about what the future is actually looking like. That having been said, we're continuing to reach out to developers of other recommended extensions whose APIs are currently supported on mobile and whose kind of like goal makes sense on mobile. So we are planning to enable more of those extensions on Nightly first, just to do some testing and then graduate them onto release. So more extensions are coming for Phoenix release. I think the last thing I wanted to say, just to like circle back to the whole like contribution thing, if folks want to help, if folks want to take a look at the updated documentation for loading extensions on Phoenix, and if they are like, you know, if there's any feedback about those testing instructions, I'll provide a link in this doc once we wrap up this meeting. That I would be happy, like I would totally welcome feedback from folks on that. So anything we can do to kind of make the documentation better, I would certainly love some help. Okay, are there any questions about Phoenix? Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks everybody who reached out and offered to help or had some like thoughtful feedback about this. We really appreciate it. The next thing is we notice, the next thing I just wanted to let some developers know that we noticed last week that DOM Purify, which is a library that we recommend using on Extension Workshop under the article Build a Secure Extension. We noticed that one of the libraries that we recommended for building a secure extension actually had some pretty nasty cross-site scripting vulnerabilities itself, which is not secure. So we emailed folks whose extensions had used a version of DOM Purify sometime in the past. Unfortunately, we weren't able to isolate it based on current version. So anybody who had used a version of DOM Purify in the past, we sent them an email notifying them about the vulnerability and asked them to update to the latest version of DOM Purify as soon as they possibly could. Since we sent that email, DOM Purify has released 2 new versions. So when we sent the email, we had asked folks to update to the latest version, which at the time was 2.0.15. The current version as of this morning is 2.0.17. So we are making some changes to the add-ons linter to only accept the latest version. So if you've updated in the last couple of days, don't worry about it. We'll reach out to you in a couple weeks once folks have a time to update. And if you haven't gotten around to it yet, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and update that library to 17 and go ahead and resubmit. We'll take a look at people who are running older versions, probably like in the next 2 weeks or so, to see who's still lagging and how we should escalate that issue to those developers. And if you don't use DOM Purify for any of your extensions, you have nothing to worry about. Just keep it in mind in case you ever want to use it. Okay, and then the last update is for add-on developers. So on addons.mozilla.org, we offer these statistics dashboards for developers so that they can track some usage and download statistical information about their add-ons. These are all aggregated, anonymized data that kind of relates to like your user demographic and in the case of downloads, like where people are downloading your extension from. So up until now, we had this custom parameter called SRC to designate source. So you could set that parameter on specific sources and then kind of keep track of where your extension was being downloaded from. We recently changed how the download statistics are configured. So instead of coming from AMO server logs, it's now going to come from Firefox telemetry data. So as we were going through that process, we figured we might as well just remove the custom search parameter and use something that's generally being used across many other fields, and that is just standard UTM parameters. So if you are tracking download statistics data, go ahead and make sure that all of your links have that updated UTM parameter in it so that you can see that information come into your dashboard. The other thing is that your download numbers are going to be a little bit lower because people have the ability to opt out of Firefox telemetry data in a way that they couldn't in a way that they couldn't opt out of the AMO server logs. So your numbers will be lower. And your numbers will also be lower in the beginning because this is going to be using a piece of telemetry data that just started getting enabled on Firefox 80. So as your users are updating their Firefoxes, your numbers should rise. So I just want to go ahead and acknowledge that there's probably going to be a little bit of pain around seeing lower download numbers, and also, for folks who wanted to be able to see the one big download number, that is no longer going to be available. So I apologize for that inconvenience. Making this move was really important to us as a cost-saving measure and just kind of keeping things simplified measure. Go ahead and download all of your pre-existing data if you'd like to preserve it. It'll be removed sometime in early October. So go ahead and just download it before then. Phew, okay, so that was all of the, that was everything that has happened in the last month. which is pretty crazy. So looking forward, at the end of the month, end of the month wraps up Q3 for us, which is pretty crazy. So Q4, we're going to continue looking at things on Phoenix. Hopefully we'll have some announcements in early Q4 about what the longer term plan is for general add-on support in Phoenix. We'll be running the promoted add-ons pilot, so probably a lot of our time and attention is going to be spent there and on things that are supporting that. And yeah, and Q4 is always kind of crazy because of the holidays. So we'll keep y'all updated about what our plans are. Those are the things that we're mostly going to be focused on. Yeah, and if there's any questions, now's a great time to ask them. Okay, cool beans. Well, so if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out on the forum. Happy to answer them with the information that we have. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up then for this week. Unless Sylvain or Jorge, unless you want to, there's anything else you'd like to share.
All good on my side.
Sweet. Okay, awesome. Well, again, everyone, thanks for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.